Yeah, Johnny Training.com. I just got done a workout. 250 step-ups on a 10-inch bench, 9.5, 10-inch bench. On my shoulder, 25 each leg. Threw it down after 25, picked it up, threw it back on my other shoulder for another 25. 10 rounds, 250. I wanted to do it in 12 minutes, did it in 11 minutes, and some change. Now, I've been doing step-ups for a long time. I've told people the story of why I've done them. And it comes back to back in the day when 1970s wrestler Bob Backlund would do them, and I always thought that it was a useless exercise. I never realized it because, as I got older, it was all about weightlifting and things like that. And then I come across Paddy Doyle from the UK, who's a prolific record breaker, and he would do step-ups with backpacks and all kinds of things. So then I started doing the step-ups with that I wanted to beat one of his records in the step-ups. 15-inch bench with a 50-pound pack, and I wanted to do as many as I could in 5 minutes to beat him. So I started doing a lot of step-ups on 15-inch benches because I have to do it the same exact way he did his record, which I did win at one point. So I would use a 15-inch bench, which kind of was perfect for me. I think me and him were about the same size. Anything higher than that would have extended my hip flexors, and it wouldn't have been a real good, it wouldn't be good. It would be a lot slower for me. That's just like if a guy who was 6'4" was doing a 15-inch step up on the bench. It's going to be a lot easier for him. It's almost like him walking up regular steps. Anyhow, so I always talk about, which I've learned a long time ago, is you train the way you want to fight, the way you want to live in your everyday life. Wrestlers train to wrestle, boxers train to box. That's just the way it is. Football players train to play football. Well, I started using a 9.5 to 10-inch and no more than 12-inch step to do my step-ups. Now the reason being, when I was doing all those 15-inch step-ups, my muscle memory started becoming 15 inches. So believe it or not, I would overstep steps and actually stumble. Okay, so I had to actually, in certain conditions, certain places, I'd have to actually pay attention to the stepping I was doing. Because the normal steps, okay, if the 9.5-inch step is normal, 18 would be 2 with a little extension. So if I'm doing 15, I'm just coming in short on the second step, which I would stumble. I know it sounds weird, but it's absolutely the case. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to walk up steps anymore? And I started realizing it. Every day, if we're walking up any steps, they're in that range, okay? Most household steps are 9.5, 10 inches. Some a little, depending on the age of the house, but that's basically the normal. So if I was to climb steps carrying anything, I would be stepping up and down, climbing steps that are 9.5, 10 inches. So which makes more sense for me to do step-ups, which, if I wanted to make it tougher on my hip flexors, which I do, I would wear ankle weights. I'd work the hip flexors. Plus, using ankle weights would mimic like walking in higher and deeper snow. Okay, which if anybody's walking deep snow and more up to your shins or knees or even deeper, it's difficult and you'll feel it real quick. So ankle weights kind of mimic that. But if I'm using 9 inches, 10 inches, and I'm climbing up and down steps, moving furniture, whatever it is, that's going to be more normal. Okay, and there's another thing. It's like when you do squats and you bring yourself and you go all the way as low as you can go. Now, in the world, poor countries, mostly, everybody squats when they sit. I don't know, maybe they don't have any chairs, but it's a normal thing to squat, eating, working, in the fields, wherever they're at. Me, and in the Western culture here, we have chairs. You sit in chairs all day, you lose flexibility. I spend a lot of time sitting on the floor. Squatting, because of my knees, I can squat down, but there's issues still. But doing step-ups on 9.5 to 10 inches, the way the bench is, the way your knee is, That's normal. Plus, it's actually working the muscles around the kneecap, the thigh, more and safer and more beneficial than actually squatting deep. Okay? Most people out there, when they squat, they pick anything up. They're not squatting like that. Kids don't pick up things like that. They'll squat, they can squat to take a shit, but they don't lift things like that. You know, you look at people, the way they move naturally. Kids don't jog. Kids only sprint. Okay? They sprint until they can't run. Then they walk. Then they sprint some more. So today I did 250, step-ups on the 10-inch bench, throwing it down each time because I wanted the extra throwing up, because as you breathe heavy, it gets tougher to move things, especially when it's an awkward, unbalanced object. You got to be able to keep it, and your body's got to stay stable. It's kind of like if your best deadlift was 400 pounds. And that's what everybody tells me. They always tell me what their deadlift is. They're always telling me their max deadlift. My question is, could you put 300 pounds at the end of a football field, sprint is fucking balls to the wall to that 300-pound barbell, right to the barbell, and rep out 10, 15 reps with it? You couldn't. Not unless you train for it. Just like when police officers chase criminals with all their gear on, they get to that criminal. It takes 5 to handle one dude because, number 1, they're running with gear. Number 2, they're not training that way. And number 3, that fucking dude don't want to go to fucking jail. So, you can believe whatever you want, and that's why I coined the phrase many, many years ago, conditioned strength. Because there's no use of having any strength if you're not conditioned to use it. So anyhow, I'm going to post a video of my 250 step-ups. You'll see how I threw the bag up and how I always do it. But just keep in mind, man, that's why I use a lower bench now, is because it's more to what I do on a regular basis. I don't need to be overstepping steps and look like a fucking dummy, like somebody can't walk up and down steps. But because of the muscle memory, there's no doubt that's why I'm missing steps. I'm going a little too high, and stumble and happen to catch myself. So, again, I still go more to how I train on a regular basis, how I see society, sprinting, bike sprints, carrying things, walking up and down hills with weight, sprinting up hills, whatever. Whatever I'm going to use outside of the gym later.